afternoon ETAG conference, and thank you to Donald and Mags for the invitation to come along and sort of let's speak. Heard a lot about the opportunities that Edinburgh has as a city. We're massively proud to play a part in the cultural, fiscal reboot of the city centre post-COVID, and indeed who would open a £1 billion mixed-use development after a global pandemic, with e-commerce taking a grip on the overall global retail market. So what I want to do is give you a little bit of a sense of where we've been, the original vision for St James Quarter, but more importantly what's coming down the track, and hopefully some new initiatives for 2023 and 2024 that will see yet further stimulus in our great city centre. And I think it was Sam Walton, founder of Walmart, that was asked the famous question, what do you think about retail in a recession? And his reply was, of course, I thought about it and I decided not to participate. So we at St James Quarter equally decide not to participate in some of the doom and gloom surrounding retail UK-wide and indeed globally. So we opened in June 2021. Our initial year one target footfall was somewhere in the region of about 14 million. Pleased to say that we've achieved a figure of 17.2 million. And to put that into context, there is a UK ranking, a retail UK ranking of cities, and historically for the last 10 or 15 years, Edinburgh has been somewhere around number 13, number 14, obviously behind London, Manchester, Leeds, Liverpool, etc. Since the opening of St James Quarter, and these figures are yet to be ratified, but we think Edinburgh will be number 8 in the UK retail rankings. So quite a seismic sort of like shift in what is broadly an 18-month period. And Glasgow, look out, we're coming to get you. But in order to tell today's story, what I want to do is just show you a piece of video footage which encapsulates the original vision for St James Quarter and undermines, I guess, some of the ambition that we have for 23 and 24. So we've obviously opened in June 2021. but I'll give you a little bit of a sort of a sense of the original vision for St James Quarter, which to this day is still very much in our DNA. It represents the investment. It represents the passion, the energy, the enthusiasm that we will continue to deliver in 23 and into 24, and also sets Ken up very nicely when he talks about W in a little bit more detail in a few minutes' time. But there were a few phrases that were mentioned earlier today about collaboration, connectivity, and the original design for St James Quarter was very much founded on those key principles. If Edinburgh City Centre does well, if Edinburgh as a city does well, so will St James Quarter and vice versa. And you can see it was no mistake that the location was absolutely key. It undermines the fact that there are no doors. It is an open streetscape, and we are connected to Maltrees, St Andrew's Square. We're connected to Princes Street through Register Square, and of course, Leith Walk. We're immensely proud of that, and that will continue to underpin our approach to business in 23 and 24. This is one of my favourite sort of slides. Again, we hear sometimes that St James Quarter, very elevated, premium sort of offer. In fact, it was designed, as you can see there, on a vertical circulation principle. But level one, for those of you that have visited, if you haven't worked it out yet, is indeed High Street, Banks, Boots, Superdrug. It's level two, youthful, urban, Pull & Bear, Bershka, Stradivarius. Level three, premium fashion, Boss, Reiss, Harrods Beauty, etc. Level 4, dining and leisure. Level 5, Everyman Cinema and event spaces. And of course, 6 through to what is now levels 12 with rooms that we're going to chat about in a second. Residential apartments, which will open later this year. And of course, W Edinburgh. So what does the next few months hold? What's coming down the pipeline? Costs, again, we spend an inordinate amount of money on consumer research. The number one brand that came back to us from our core and secondary catchment was Costs. The great and the good of Edinburgh certainly wanted to see Costs here. For those of you that don't know it, Costs stands for Collection of Style, Modern, Urban, Chic Fashion, and with a very strong menswear offer when it opens later in mid-April. I think there's actually a team from Rooms Apart Hotels here today. Sensational 74-bedroom apart hotel should open mid-May. I would liken it to a 4-star hotel. The only thing that's missing is the swimming pool. But the views from Rooms in particular, overlooking Calton Hill and Arthur's Seat and onto Princes Street, absolutely spectacular. If you get the chance to check out LinkedIn today, there's been an image that's just been released of the penthouse. It looks absolutely fabulous. So Rooms, I think, will be a hugely positive sort of contributor for tourism in Edinburgh. We opened The Botanist in June. Live music, world-class cocktails, craft beers, and their signature hanging kebabs. Me neither. But it's certainly one to get yourself in there and trial. Duck and Waffle already open. I read a review, one of the esteemed restaurant critics who visited last week. It's been open now for a week. The review simply said, "Wow." If you get the chance, world-class of dining, big on guest experience. Again, a first for Edinburgh, a first for Scotland. And really sort of setting the bar for gastronomy in the city centre. We have Flight Club coming in November, the home of social darts, fast-paced games, competitive socialising, glorious cocktails, and delicious sharing plates, according to the press release in front of me here. So, as well as new retail brands and restaurants coming, just a very quick overview on events at St James Quarter. 9 event spaces. February is going to be huge for us, February and into March, with a campaign called Love Beauty, naturally sort of like Valentine's Day, but activating all our cool brands, Harrods Beauty, Space NK, master classes, influencers, etc. We believe that Dyson are coming in and doing another sort of like free hairstyling sort of like event for a couple of days. So this concept of always being on, always being true to our demographic and customer audience, something new and different week in, week out. Edinburgh Seafood Festival in March, at the end of March and into April. Live music, great wines, Gary McLean, Scotland's national chef, Jimmy Lee, best of Scottish produce, paella, fish and chips, seafood pizza, and my personal favourite, fish finger butties. So you're going to find every possible seafood sort of like exposure in and around the quarter, end of March and beginning of April. And we bring Scotland's biggest Comic-Con to our car park area over Easter weekend. And everything from full-size Batmobiles to character sort of appearances, closely in conjunction with Everyman Cinema on Lane 5. So this idea of something new, something different, great energy, great excitement, literally week in, week out. We also have sustainability, huge part of our consumer sort of like profile. We will have every single month a pre-loved vintage fashion fair in our car park area. We've been running that successfully in 2022, and we're going to make it bigger and better in 23. Finally, we're also going to launch an app, 18th of February, very much designed to encourage a loyalty program, discounts, the opportunity to book restaurants, book Lane 7, book Everyman, very big on guest experience and money can't buy opportunities in all of those retailers and restaurants that you've heard me talk about sort of like earlier. So we're hoping that the app in particular will be a really cool addition for all city centre shopping. And we do have some aspirations there to work in conjunction with retailers in the bid district. We're in conversation with Roddy in Essential Edinburgh about how we can broaden that across Edinburgh city centre. So that is broadly what's coming down the track for the quarter. Thank you very much.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much indeed for the opportunity to come and talk to you today. I came back from my last assignment, which was in Amsterdam in mid-December, and have the task of activating and getting this wonderful hotel open. I think you've seen with Nick's presentation, the W is an integral part of the St. James's Quarter. I would honestly say that when I first came to look at the site, I was so impressed by just exactly what Edinburgh has done. And I think all the comments this morning about the activation of that side of the city is really impressive and something you should all be proud of. So we have a winding bronze-coloured steel ribbon. That's what we have, and that's the inspiration for the main building here. I thought it'd be sensible just to talk a little bit about Marriott and what Marriott International is around. We incredibly now have coming up for 8,000 hotels worldwide. It's scary, it really is. Over 32 different brands. We have 480 luxury hotels in 668 countries. Luxury segment is really important to Marriott, and it's something that they are very much focused in on. In Europe, Middle East and Africa this year, they're opening another 35 new luxury hotels. And in terms of W, there's 4 openings in Europe this year. So Prague, Budapest, Milan, and most importantly, Edinburgh. The other big factor is our loyalty program, which is, no disrespect to all the other hotel companies represented here today, perceived as one of the best in the industry. We have 170 million Bonvoy members worldwide. To put that in perspective, I ran a 402-bedroom hotel in Amsterdam city centre, and roughly 50% of the reservations were associated with Bonvoy, either people redeeming stays or redeeming points to stay, or using to earn points when they were there. So it's a huge and very important part of how we drive occupancy through our buildings. A little bit about the hotel. I think everyone focuses in on the main building, which was beautifully illuminated in the video, which I have to say, it's the first time I've seen that, actually. It's very impressive. The hotel's made up of 3 buildings. This one is the Georgian townhouse, which is James Craig Walk, and in that building we have 39 keys. The main C building, or the building that's got the ribbon, actually only has 68 rooms in it. It's mainly F&B, or B&F as we call it in the brand, meeting room, spa, and gym. And then the main sort of feature, the top, the building, the main part is called the D building, which has got 137 keys. So in total, we've got 244 guest rooms, 42 suites. We have 1 EWOW suite, which is the brand's equivalent of the presidential suite, and that's 144 square meters. W is all about quite a modern design. It's all about luxury and pushing this luxury in everything we do. And it's trying to enhance the customers, all the touch points. We are encouraged to try and elevate them to make it a very special experience. So a little flavor about the rooms. This is a standard room in the main, what they call the D block, which is the main the main part of the hotel. And you'll see there's elements of Scottish design brought through it, and it really is quite an innovative design. There's open vanities, and it's a lot of touch points, a lot of technology. We are going to have electric everything, I think, so you can do everything by touching buttons or pressing iPads. This is a standard room in the C block, and you can see there all those rooms have balconies, which is something which is, I think, interesting for Edinburgh. This feature in the middle is a rock bar, which is actually the minibar, effectively. But again, the design is very much to get the rock design, which is very obviously infamous with the Scottish design and texture. And you can see, obviously, in the colour scheme, that sort of distressed tartan is something which features very much important to it. Again, just some other visuals. Again, the mock-up rooms are actually nearly completed, but we actually start getting product back from the main contractors towards the middle of May this year. So it is really moving along at great pace. As well as I mentioned a little bit the B&F side of it. We have a rooftop terrace, or the W deck as it's called, which has a capacity for 600 people. It's absolutely stunning. The views you get from that, you really forget how elevated the building is. And the views are just to die for. It really is. It's a very special area, and it's going to be a strong feature of things we do in the future. On the 11th floor, we have the W Lounge, which is, again, a brand. It's going to serve food and beverage up there, live music, which is a capacity for just over 200 people. We also have a very unique, Nick mentioned the Duck and Waffle, which is really a great opening, and I should encourage everyone to go and try it. Duck and Waffle and Sushi Samba are the same company, so it's the same brand for two. So we work very closely with them. But we're developing a concept on the 11th floor called a private Brazilian bar. So Joe's Place will be there. It's probably a capacity for about 50 people. Again, a private terrace, and it's going to be designed as if it's a living room in São Paulo back in the 70s. So it's going to be a really unique selling point, and I think a very special addition. We're also going to have a chef table on that floor as well, so we'll have individual guest chefs coming in, and there'll be a capacity to do private tastings for 14 people in front of the guests. Again, something a little bit different, and again, just enhancing the B&F offering. And then we have the Sushi Samba restaurant on the 10th floor. As I say, some of the things I've been involved in so far, the latest one this week was discussing with the gentleman who's actually building. There's a Sushi Samba, they've got a signature tree in every one of their outlets. So we're having this specially made as a feature of the restaurant. And of course, the gentleman that's doing it, when he told me he did all the trees for the Harry Potter films, that was me completely hooked. So It's fascinating how he does this. And then we've got 5 meeting rooms, we've got a small spa, and we're also building a sound studio, a recording studio in the hotel as well. I think it's one of the few anywhere in the UK, and it is a proper recording studio. So the company that's doing the setup for us, when I went to visit them in London a couple of weeks ago, they're just finishing off, Calvin Harris is having a new studio built at his house, so they're doing all that sort of stuff, and it's a different world. We're not quite sure how to activate that, and I'm not sure I'm the right person to discuss it, but we are going to have, that sort of, again, a very unusual feature to have. We have a gym which will also look after, and it's very much a part of the St James's Quarter, where the apartments will be able to access the gym as well as hotel residents. And I think to get it open, to get this hotel open, this will be my 5th opening in different parts of the world. Openings are very different to taking over operational hotels. I think everyone's talked about employment. Is it going to be a challenge? Of course it is. Are we going to do things differently? We have to. I'm a huge believer in, I'm getting red lights here, I apologize. I'm a huge believer in youth employment. And actually, I did a program in Glasgow many years ago where I took 25 underprivileged kids who'd never worked in their life before and did an old-fashioned apprenticeship scheme and put them in a classroom for 2 days a week, and 3 days a week they worked in the operation. And honestly, when you see these kids develop, it's amazing just how satisfying that is. And that's what we're going to have to do here as well. We're going to have to go back to the basics. I've worked in this industry for a long time. Every year people talk about the lack of people who come and talent, et cetera, et cetera. I think it's a great industry to work in. I've been all around the world. I've been very fortunate. Hotels are great fun. There's a great sense of humor, great teamwork, and you meet some really nice people. So it is something which I think is a fantastic employment. And I think for the right people, if you give me the common sense approach, we can train the rest in the skill side of it. So as Nick mentioned, we're hoping to get open. We're on schedule to have the building handed back to us in the 3rd quarter of this year. And with a fair wind, hopefully, we should be open by the end of the year. So as I say, looking forward to it, and thank you for your time. And before I go, I have to introduce Tricia, who is going to do the next section. Thank you.